Legendary Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley has died at the age of 74. He was surrounded by family when he passed after suffering a brain bleed weeks earlier.
Ace Frehley is gone, but his presence is still evident in every riff, every tour, every story about Kiss.
In the summer of '83, there's a reason I remember it well. I was slipping and sliding.
Fans thought they fully understood the relationship between him and Paul Stanley, the two co-founders, two rock brothers who had been together for decades.
I'm great.
Well, how long's it been?
Too many years.
Think we got it?
We still got it.
Let's do it.
Let's rock it out.
Nonetheless, the funeral that just took place revealed a gap that surprised everyone. Paul Stanley was not present. And now every memory, every tribute, and every action contributes to decoding the secret that the public has never seen. This distance and personal choices become even more special when looking back at Ace Frehley's important role in Kiss. Thanks to his unique performance style and image, Kiss quickly became a global music phenomenon, and Ace, as lead guitarist, was at the heart of famous riffs and solos on albums like Destroyer and Alive. This musical achievement not only marked the pinnacle of fame, but also laid the foundation for a complex and long-lasting relationship between Ace and Paul Stanley. In 1978, Ace Frehley released a solo album at the same time as the other members of Kiss, with the song New York Groove reaching high positions on the charts, cementing his personal reputation outside of Kiss. This success also reflected Frehley's creativity and influence in rock music. Paul Stanley, co-founder and longtime friend, once emphasized Ace's importance in the group Essential Rock Soldier, a recognition of Ace's irreplaceable role, and also revealed a deep level of respect between the two. A brilliant career was accompanied by internal tensions. The relationship between Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley went through many tense periods over creative control, performance style, and musical direction. These conflicts led to Ace leaving Kiss in 1982. The split did not diminish his public standing, but it laid the foundation for a long-standing feud between the two legends. In a recent statement, Paul Stanley underscored the difficulty of the relationship. "Boy, I wish that guy was in the band." It was Ace expressing both regret and distance that persisted over the years. In later reunion tours and collaborative projects, tensions between Ace and Paul remained, but so did acknowledgement of Ace's role and legacy. Gene Simmons and Peter Criss both described Ace as irreplaceable and eternal rock soldier, emphasizing that even though the conflict, Ace remained an integral part of Kiss history. These quotes illustrate the complexity of the co-founder relationship, a mixture of respect and simmering disagreements that lasted for years. Ace's personal success and solo career after leaving Kiss also contributed to the distance between him and Paul Stanley. Ace continued to develop his own style with projects such as Frehley's Comet, the album Anomaly, and his solo tour, establishing his own name and maintaining his influence in the music scene. The focus on his solo career also led to a gap in time and public appearances between Ace and Paul, which is later reflected in recent events, including Ace's funeral. The combination of success and conflict during this period lays the foundation for the next section, which will examine Ace Frehley's independent path, solo projects, and how his personal choices continue to influence his relationship with Paul Stanley. This distance and private decision is a stepping stone to understanding Paul Stanley's absence from the funeral, and also confirms Ace's lasting influence in rock music. Independent path. After leaving Kiss, Ace Frehley focused on building his own career, creating his own musical projects, and establishing his own unique guitar style. Frehley's Comet became the foundation for his solo career with outstanding albums showcasing his creativity and refined playing. Ace's solo tours and albums, such as Anomaly, solidified his place in the rock scene while also opening up opportunities to explore musical ideas that had previously been impossible in a group setting. During this period, Ace maintained his spaceman image and distinctive playing style, which clearly distinguished him from Kiss projects. His name continued to be widely recognized, influencing generations of guitarists. Interviews and tributes from Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons also emphasized that even though the distance between their personal relationships, Ace's talent and contributions were still valued. Paul Stanley once posted a tribute on social media. "Boy, I wish that guy was in the band." It was Ace showing a combination of regret and recognition of Ace's enduring value in music. Ace Frehley also actively collaborated with other artists during his solo career, while also organizing large and small tours to introduce new music and stay in touch with audiences. These tours not only solidified his personal career, but also gave him the opportunity to have complete control over his music performance style and image. This process represented a completely independent period, different from his Kiss years, and also created independence in his relationship with Paul Stanley. The gap in solo projects helps explain the personal choices of both Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley. Ace's solo activities allowed him to maintain influence and assert his legacy, while this gap also explains why Paul Stanley did not appear at the recent funeral. Quotes from previous statements emphasize that the relationship between the two men remains one of respect, even though the infrequent joint appearances. Paul Stanley has publicly paid tribute and expressed his condolences, but personal decisions and schedules have affected his attendance at important events. As his solo career has progressed, Ace Frehley has continued to experiment with new musical styles and arrangements. This has allowed him to maintain his status as an influential guitarist while also expanding his creative horizons from his time with Kiss. This solo career has also demonstrated that Ace has the ability to independently manage and control his music, creating his own signature that is still recognized by his former Kiss bandmates. Tributes from Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and Peter Criss all underscore Ace's enduring influence, demonstrating the combination of his individual talent and the group's legacy. Ace Frehley's tours, solo albums, and independent projects also clearly reflected the time and public distance from Paul Stanley. This separation laid the foundation for the decision to have a private funeral in which Paul Stanley paid tribute without physically attending. The distance between artists and the way their individual careers were managed created a model that showed that respect and grief could exist without being physically present at specific events. Ace's solo work continued to maintain a strong presence in rock music, with many albums and tours receiving positive reviews. These years demonstrated Ace Frehley's continued creativity and influence, and showed that the relationship with Paul Stanley was maintained on the basis of respect and recognition of artistic merit. These separate activities led to a period of reunion and celebration where Ace returned to Kiss for joint projects, but still retained control and shaping of his own style. Ace Frehley's solo career achievements and personal choices provided an important stepping stone between the earlier split and the later reunion and recognition events. This distance and independence is the basis for understanding the relationship between Ace and Paul Stanley at the time of the funeral and highlights the value and influence Ace maintained in music. Ace's independent steps led to the reunion and recognition events, where his role in Kiss and his relationship with Paul Stanley remained strong. Reunion and recognition. In 1996, Ace Frehley returned to Kiss for the reunion tour, marking a significant turning point for both the group and himself. This return was accompanied by new musical projects, including the album Psycho Circus and global tours. Ace and Paul Stanley joined Gene Simmons and Peter Criss, creating a large-scale event that attracted the attention of fans everywhere. The bond between the members was cemented by acknowledging each other's roles in Kiss history, while also maintaining Ace's place in rock music. During the reunion, Ace continued to assert his individual influence and guitar skills. Signature solos and riffs remained central to the repertoire and marked the reunion albums. Ace and Paul Stanley's on-stage collaborations showed that they maintained a high level of professional synergy, even though previous tensions. Paul Stanley mourned Ace on social media. "Boy, I wish that guy was in the band." It was Ace, a reminder of the deep connection, but also a reflection of the distance that existed between the two artists in personal events. Reunion projects focused not only on music, but also on honoring each member's role in Kiss history. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014 was a testament to Ace Frehley's lasting influence, with him and his bandmates being recognized as shapers of rock music. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons both noted Ace as irreplaceable in public statements, suggesting that even though tensions, respect, and recognition remained. Peter Criss also described Ace as an integral part of Kiss, asserting that his contributions extended beyond personal conflicts. During the reunion period, tours, albums, and tributes demonstrated Ace and Paul Stanley's ability to maintain a productive professional relationship. Public appearances and tributes from Paul Stanley showed that even though not attending the recent funeral, he still recognized Ace's legacy and importance. These activities also highlighted Ace's professionalism and lasting influence, showing that Ace Frehley continued to play a central role in Kiss while maintaining his individual style. The reunion also set a new context for the relationship between the members. Even though joint tours and album projects, the distance between personal decisions remained. Paul Stanley participated in the online tribute, while the funeral was held privately, reflecting that respect and grief can exist without physical presence. This underscores how the relationship is maintained on individual terms, combining recognition of musical merit with personal life choices. The return and tribute events also demonstrate Ace Frehley's ability to maintain a central place in Kiss music, while also providing Paul Stanley and the other members with opportunities to respect their individual legacies. These years demonstrate Ace's enduring influence not only on stage, but also in the way he manages his personal image and career. Quotes from Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons both affirm Ace's irreplaceable role, while also demonstrating a combination of recognition and personal distance. The reunion and tribute projects set the stage for subsequent events in Ace Frehley's life, including the funeral and recent tributes. The distance between him and Paul Stanley, combined with public appearances and tributes from other members, provided context for why the funeral was kept private and how Paul Stanley mourned. These activities demonstrated that Ace continued to be recognized and respected, while personal decisions took precedence in important events. When the funeral and tributes took place, the arrangements and individual choices reflected the long-standing relationships between the members of Kiss. The presence of Gene Simmons and Peter Criss, along with the public tribute from Paul Stanley, showed how musical legacy and personal decisions were balanced in the most important moments. Funeral and legacy. Ace Frehley died on October 16, 2025 in Morristown, New Jersey, after suffering a traumatic brain injury from a studio accident a few weeks earlier. The funeral was held privately, with family and other Kiss members, including Gene Simmons and Peter Criss, present. The format emphasized the focus on Ace's family and legacy, and reflected the context of his relationship with Paul Stanley, who did not attend the funeral but paid tribute publicly on social media. "Boy, I wish that guy was in the band." It was Ace. Paul Stanley was absent from the funeral, but he maintained his respect and grief for Ace Frehley. The tribute posted emphasized Ace's importance in Kiss, and his deep personal impact. Essential rock soldier was Stanley's term for Ace. The relationship between the two men spanned many phases of collaboration and conflict, from the early years of the group's formation to reunion projects and joint tours. The distance in their relationship, combined with personal schedules and priorities, created the context for Paul's absence from the funeral. In the final weeks of his life, Ace continued to maintain his musical career and solo projects. His signature image and guitar style remained central to recent tours and albums. Tributes from Gene Simmons and Peter Criss underscored Ace's irreplaceable role in Kiss, affirming his influence and lasting musical legacy. Paul Stanley acknowledged this in his tribute, expressing grief, but also reflecting personal commitments and choices about time and travel. The decisions about the funeral, from keeping it private to choosing attendees, reflected the historical context of Ace and Paul Stanley's relationship. Years of collaboration, conflict, reunions, and personal distance all played a role in shaping the way the funeral was handled. Paul Stanley opted for a public tribute, emphasizing the grief and acknowledgement of Ace's enduring value without a physical appearance, which also highlighted the level of respect that still existed between the artists. In the context of the funeral, statements from Gene Simmons and Peter Criss also emphasized Ace's role and influence in Kiss. They described Ace as irreplaceable and an eternal rock soldier, demonstrating that his contributions extended beyond his personal conflicts. These quotes show that Ace's musical legacy remains intact, and that the relationship with Paul Stanley, even though the distance, is based on lasting respect and recognition. The tributes and funeral arrangements also highlighted the personal legacy that came first. Ace Frehley was recognized for his album's tours and performance style. Paul Stanley, though not physically present, still affirmed his spiritual connection to Ace by expressing his grief and acknowledging his important role. This approach reflects a balance between musical legacy, personal choice, and enduring professional relationships. The developments surrounding the funeral and legacy set the stage for examining the beginnings and the path to the formation of Ace Frehley's legend, along with his early relationship with Paul Stanley. Legendary beginnings. Ace Frehley was born and raised in the Bronx, New York, where he began learning guitar as a young man. From his high school years, Ace showed a passion for music and an outstanding ability to play, laying the foundation for his later career. The basic guitar skills he honed at home and in local bands helped him develop his own distinctive style, later known as Spaceman. During the early years, Ace met Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, and together they formed Kiss in 1973. The combination of individuals with different musical styles and images created a strong attraction from the early days of the group. Ace took on the role of lead guitarist and developed the distinctive Spaceman image that became the Kiss identity symbol. Ace's talent and performing style contributed to the group's rapid national popularity. Ace's early years in Kiss also included musical experimentation and the development of his guitar-playing technique. He participated in writing and performing many of the band's signature songs, creating signature riffs and solos that helped to shape the band's musical brand. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons acknowledge Ace's important role in shaping Kiss's music, emphasizing that his creativity and influence are inseparable from the group's history. This period also laid the foundation for the complex relationships between the members. The early years of the group were a time of close collaboration and differences in musical direction and management. Ace Frehley displayed a strong personality and asserted his own views and approaches, which created potential conflicts in his relationship with Paul Stanley, but also maintained collaboration on musical projects. The success of the early years provided Ace Frehley with the foundation for a long career both within Kiss and in his later solo projects. Ace's tours, albums, and brand image all stem from this period. Paul Stanley has acknowledged that Ace was irreplaceable, and statements by Gene Simmons and Peter Criss have also emphasized that Ace was a key part of Kiss's growth and reputation. The performing style and guitar technique that Ace developed from his early days in the Bronx continued to be a highlight of his career and a defining element of Kiss's sound. His approach to riff solos and stage presence set him apart from other guitarists of his era, making each performance memorable and influential. The combination of his innovative musical style and the iconic spaceman persona created a distinctive signature that became instantly recognizable, contributing to his reputation as a rock icon. These artistic contributions solidified his position in rock history, inspired countless musicians, and ensured that Ace's musical legacy remained powerful and relevant throughout his career, including during his solo projects and collaborations outside the band. The early days also reveal key experiences that shaped the path Ace Frehley would follow in both his career and personal life, setting the stage for his long-term relationship with Paul Stanley. From a young age, Ace developed the skills to manage his own career, make strategic decisions, and cultivate a unique personal brand that distinguished him from others in the music world. These formative experiences gave him the confidence to take independent steps later in life, including pursuing solo projects, choosing the timing and manner of his public appearances, and maintaining a certain distance from Paul Stanley during significant events. Understanding these early influences helps explain the careful balance Ace maintained between collaboration with his bandmates and asserting his individuality throughout his career. The formative years in the Bronx and his early experiences in Kiss laid the foundation for Ace's development as a rock legend and forged a long-lasting complex relationship with Paul Stanley. Ace's early talent and personality not only helped shape his career, but also created a legacy of music tours and images that both Paul Stanley and the rest of Kiss recognized. These foundations lead into an overview of his entire career journey and lifelong relationships, highlighting Ace Frehley's value and influence in music. Ace Frehley leaves behind a timeless musical legacy from his early days in the Bronx, his role in Kiss, his solo career and reunion tours, and his complex but respectful relationship with Paul Stanley. His story is a reminder of the talent, personal choices, and lasting impact that any artist can have. If you found this video interesting, please like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel for more great music, and leave a comment about your favorite Ace Frehley moment or song. We'd love to hear what you think.